Magazine. My name is Chris Carr. I'm the host of today's show. We have a very special guest today, Mr. Kyle Kruger. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Really happy to be here today.
Awesome. This is a very special PodMax episode of Thought Leader Magazine. If you are not familiar with PodMax, it's probably one of the nation's leading podcast super events. And they get some amazing speakers. And I was fortunate enough to partner with them and just got a chance to really meet Kyle and kind of figure out what he's doing. And man, he's open. Let me give you some background notes on what this guy's achieved. It's really exciting. So he started his businesses. How old are you, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm 33 right now.
At 33, he's already started 4 different businesses, and now he's gone from the aviation industry into doing entrepreneurship, and then his latest venture, which is really exciting, is his P.A.C.K Mastermind group, and so that's P.A.C.K. So Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about P.A.C.K.
Yeah, sure. So kind of a little background on me is that I did the traditional path of the American dream, right? So I went to school, got a great job out of work, got married, bought a house, had some kids, and was just really grinding away at the 9 to 5. And while I felt like kind of hit the American dream, I kind of was getting crushed by it. So I kind of had to start looking at what other options I had out there. And I had started some previous businesses right out of college that ultimately failed, and then kind of went into the 9 to 5 type corporate role more so. And about 3 years ago, I got back into entrepreneurship. So I have a real estate business that I have rental properties with. I have an investment company that I do a lot of partnerships and syndications and that type of stuff through that. And then now I've started the business consulting company that also I do the mastermind through. And there's a management company as well that oversees all those different avenues. So there's 4 businesses running right now. And it's been fantastic. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
That's nuts. How do your wife and kids ever get a chance to see you?
It's been a little tough. I've been going through the last couple of years. It's been still a full transition period, with everything, but we're definitely on the path to where as things play out here, I'll be working 5-10 hours a week. And I'm super excited because my daughter, she's 2. My son is 4 months right now. So I've been really grinding away right now. My wife, reminds me all the time that she's a very special lady and that I love her very much. But yeah, we're getting to the point where, pretty soon it'll be pretty awesome I think we'll be able to go definitely full into the mastermind all the time now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things, so I started my business when I was 21 years old. This year marks 20 years of P.A.C.K. I have another 3 other businesses that are sort of intermingled with this business. And I think one of the things that's really hard as a business owner is just the loneliness of entrepreneurship. And what I mean by that is that, like I know a lot of people that'll say, hey, you know what, I should start my own business, or I should do this type of thing. And I was just like, be careful what you wish for, because it's not just rainbows. You know what I mean? It's to tell you the truth is it's like my wife will say something like, what's it like to not have a boss? I'm like, I have 150 clients. I have 150 bosses. And the penalty is far more severe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was the big inspiration for this, honestly. So I'm a big consumer of information. I've been for, traditional schooling wasn't my jam, right? But I find something that's really interesting to me, I really deep dive on it.
Yeah.
So like the last 5 years, I was deep diving on, investing, whether it was real estate, stocks, options. And then I got kind of really into taxes. I really deep dived on taxes and asset protection stuff. And then I already had a big background in operations. So what I found was this big gap in the market, though, and you alluded to it there, that being that entrepreneur, you're wearing all the hats, and it's kind of lonely, depending on who your support network is around you.
Yeah, sure.
My wife, I love her to death, and she's a registered nurse, so she loves clocking in, doing her thing, and coming home. But when I start talking about sales, marketing, scaling the business, she has zero interest in that. And I know I'm not alone in that. And there's many business owners out there that need that support network that they can come to, that understands and can be empathetic to the challenges that they're having at the time, and actually bounce some really actionable ideas off each other to then go back and take away that stress and challenge that they're having.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't relate to that. I can relate to that in so many ways. Like I was trying to say, I couldn't relate to that more. My wife's a nurse practitioner. we're basically in the same path, you and I. And, like you said, I love her to death, but I will bring some of the issues I have at work to her, and her oversimplified answer to them is just like, I'm kind of like, I wish I didn't bring it up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
No, absolutely. And that's how it's been. And I've been driving her nuts, going through this journey, and, she's interested in real estate and she gets it and she
yeah,
enjoys that aspect of our business and she really enjoys that. But man, as soon as you start talking about, the marketing strategies or like kind of in sales process and operations, just like, just get it, but she does like bookkeeping. So that's a plus,
yeah,
so that's kind of good,
okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, keep in mind, I couldn't walk a day in her shoes at the hospitals that she works at too, and the things she sees. So, it is all relative. The thing for me, because I'm in the design space, like things will drive me nuts that the average person wouldn't be driven nuts by. It's kind of like that Geico commercial. Like I'll walk by an like a billboard or an ad, or I'll see something and like I'll just be like, how in the world did they screw that up so bad? My wife would be like, I think it's great. I was like, no, it's not great.
Do you see this line over here? Do you see this placement over here? Do
Like,
do you see
no,
that wording in that font? What are you
no.
talking about? It's all wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And she's just like, dude, I don't see that at all. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep it to myself. But then, you get her around other entrepreneurs and they start talking about issues that they're seeing, the commonalities of that, all that stuff. And you know what? You're kind of like, I have like a family here and I've got a family here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we base it around is, having that support network that you can come to. We have it every week actually, which is a little different than some masterminds, and it's all virtual.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are in the world, and because there's just this huge gap in the market that I was experiencing even too, that you had these challenges come up that, okay, I need to work on my marketing, right? And you'd go and you spend tens of thousands of dollars on marketing and you get that all fixed up and working, but then now you're in a problem in sales, or your delivery of product is now not working and everything else. And you just kept bouncing between one problem to the next, dishing out more and more and more cash every time. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way, and I had my personal network. I'm sure you have your go-to network of people that you have that you can go and just talk to and bounce ideas. And they might give you a 5-minute conversation that just transforms your whole business. Cause it's just, going back to the thought of, you just don't know what you don't know, and when you're running a business by yourself, you're just hitting your head against the wall on so many problems all the time. You're Google researching, trying to find it, YouTubing videos, listen to a guru here and there on stuff. And you're trying to stitch it all together, and when you have that support network of people that are go-tos to talk to, that, you're getting credible, actionable, successful advice, it just makes the world of difference. Time is your friend now.
I know, and it's crazy though, because you have your peer network, right? But half your peer network could actually be your client base. And so you don't want to act weak in front of your client base. You don't want to you know what I mean? You don't want to say anything
Oh yeah.
like, hey, I'm having a problem with this employee. They're like, is it my employee? That you want you to sign me?
Yeah, my account manager that's managing my account. Like,
Yeah,
no wonder things aren't getting done,
No, but he's good. He's good for you. I promise.
Yeah.
So, then why are we having this conversation? Forget I mentioned.
No, absolutely.
But you're outside of that network, right? Your other businesses. Who could be your other businesses? People in your space. They could partially be a competitor. It's like weird. It's like if you don't have a mastermind or a peer group or something like that, when you think about your network and the time you have in the day, you have your clients, right? If you're fortunate, you have some friends that have some other businesses. But the closer you get to those friends, it's almost like that thing of like, I wouldn't join a club that would have me as a member. Like your friends have a different thing. So like what I love about masterminds is the idea or the concept of like, you're in a room with the equally yoked people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they're not bringing their biases or challenges. It's like they're all like said, hey, you know what? Like if you're in this room, like we're going to battle this together, which I think, I've been in several masterminds, and the best ones are the ones that, you know what I mean? Like when you're in the chair, like you're there to work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And our common thread that we have as my master group is you have to be a business owner or an entrepreneur to be a part of it. And that's the common thread. Yep. And what's unique to be that I've run across with my own experience with different masterminds is typically they're very niche bespoke, like niche down to where it's more of a marketing mastermind or like a real estate mastermind or something. And what's kind of cool, what we did at the P.A.C k Mastermind is we're bringing different industries together to now share those innovative ideas. Because you might have someone that's in real estate that they do a certain marketing technique or sales technique that works great for them, but you're in like I don't know, grocery stores or restaurants or something like that. And just, you never would have even thought about using that technique in your own business. And now you get to bring that to your business. And now you just create a whole new revenue stream, by just literally
Yep.
taking a tactic that you're just not exposed to, because you keep talking to other restaurateurs, and they just keep telling you to do the same coupons and whatever else again. And meanwhile, like, you have all these different strategies and tactics out there that you're just not even exposed to. So
Yeah.
that's been really powerful for the members that have been in the group.
Yep. It's funny because I do marketing for a number of different companies, and it's pretty funny because they'll be like, "Well, where'd you come up with that idea?" I'm like, "Well, I have a box company that specializes in cardboard boxes. They're a $10 million company. This is the challenge they have, and I know that you are, in the financial industry. You got to trust me that this issue is your exact issue. Now let me connect the dots." And they're like, "Oh my gosh!" But if I had two banks standing next to each other, right? It's like weird. It's like they won't step outside of their own world to see, you know what I mean? So I can see.
Exactly. That's exactly. And that's exactly the power of why I've kind of designed it the way I have is, and I break everybody out into smaller groups too, that I do my best to make them diverse as well. So like, as part of the application process is, you're going to tell me what your expertise is. Right. And I try to not put too many of the same expertise into those small groups, just to create that diversity. And you have that diversity of experts, and in every quarter we switch groups, so it's always fresh. And it just keeps people being able to stay a part of it, because I know I've been a part of groups that eventually everyone starts doing the optimized way or optimized strategy or technique in the group, and then you're kind of like, all right, now what? And now you're sawed off looking for another group or something to kind of build and grow yourself. So tried to overcome that challenge, the way we structured things.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the other unique approaches that, that you're saying, I'm going to create a mastermind. I'm trying to solve this problem. What are some of the other unique things you're always trying to do to try to refine that, to refine your group and make it better and better?
Yeah, it's been kind of like an evolution process. So we've been doing this for honestly 2 months right now, and I ran it through a beta group. So I know it's still in its infancy right now, but just in the short period of time with the initial group that we've had go through, we had 3 people that have doubled the revenue. 2 people have had the most leads they've ever had for their business. Another person has totally optimized their whole systems and organizational delivery of service, through it. And that's with just a 1 month period of time. So it's been really impactful. So that's been really exciting. And just kind of getting that feedback from the members. I'm very someone that I'm always open to feedback. And if there's things that people want to see more of, we can always incorporate it and add it in. So that's kind of, if anything, we're in that growth stage right now. We're still refining the process, but it's been all virtual, which has been really handy with obviously how 2020 has been. But we do have plans for next year to do more in-person events and a very destination based. So we like to, my vision is a lot of things with entrepreneurs, like you were saying, we're kind of lonely at the top and your time's spread thin, right?
Yep.
And I want to design it to be also a vacation with business that you'd bring your family along with too.
Oh, wow.
And you'd bring them to where now you're also coming to meet other entrepreneurs and successful business owners that you'll get broken off and still have mastermind sessions with. But now after those mastermind sessions, now you're getting to have dinner with them and go do some cool high adventure things, or just kind of be able to experience the personal side, not just the business side of people, which is just going to drive relationships and want you to do more business with those people in the future.
Very cool. And where right now, if you were to look at your members, or are they members, or how you, what's the name you would say to people?
So kind of like right now we have the founding members that were part of my initial beta group that have gone through. So yeah, it's been the members would kind of be, it's a membership.
And then where, if you're hearing this and you're not, I'm based in the Philadelphia area, where is your group located?
Yeah, it's actually worldwide, which is also I have a member that lives in Laos. I have a couple of members that live in Canada. I have another one down in Arizona. I'm in Chicago myself. And I think there's a couple on the East Coast as well. So we kind of everywhere. And that's also the power of being virtual as well. Yeah. And one of the market too, that if you're an entrepreneur, especially in a small town, like obviously the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the Miamis, that if you go to an in-person mastermind group that's very local, you're going to have a lot of high-powered people probably in that group, right? But when you're in a more remote market, let's say you're in Des Moines, Iowa, right? You might have a mastermind group, but probably not going to be as impactful as now you're able to network with people from
Yeah, I know.
Chicago and New York and Miami and those places to just innovate and bring in those new ideas to your business now that you just never would have been exposed to before.
Yeah. I mean, technology has made everything a smaller world. And I think COVID has broken down the barriers in other words, there was always this bias about virtual before COVID, right?
Yep.
Now we're sort of pulled by the hair to experience it for real. And it was it wasn't long before people were saying, you know what, like maybe this is a better way. You know what I mean? Like people
It's
that
efficient. You can't
Yep.
argue the efficiency, but
Yep.
there's also the other flip side of that, that you still can't beat an in-person experience, and that's
Yep.
where the balance that I've tried to work on is that we want something that's consistent and accessible and reliable to the members. That is the virtual mastermind, right? But then there's also going to be that next stage of it, of where you're going to get those in-person events in the future if you choose to want to attend them. So
Yep. And that's you beat me right to it. It's so funny because we've always had a virtual team. We have a sales office. Like I'm in our office here. Even with COVID, I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so like I just had to get out of Dodge. So I was always going to the office no matter what. I mean,
yeah.
if I had to come in a spacesuit, I would do that. You know what I mean? But so now I'm so used to virtual. Well, with vaccines and stuff, now I got certain employees coming in. And I know it sounds very weird, but just like the synergy of eye contact when you're in the same room with somebody, I'm just like, wow, so like I've experienced the blessings on both sides. I'm like, wow, the efficiency of virtual, awesome. And then also there's just times where if I want to write on a marker board, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna. It's way harder to write in that virtual marker board than you think. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
It's not the same.
Well, even as humans too, like so much of our communication is body language too.
Yep.
I mean, we can be virtual. Yeah, you're seeing my face, but you're not seeing my hand twitching, or you're not seeing me bouncing my leg because I'm like, I don't think I like what he's saying right now about that, right? But when you're having those in-person meetings and stuff like that, you do so much subliminal communication to each other, that that as you're maybe portraying an idea or a business proposal or anything like that, you're not picking up on all those subtle clues in that transaction to be able to, really get the most out of that meeting or interaction.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's great. So let's take a step back though. So you've got members worldwide. You're going to be planning a virtual event, right? So there's a lot going on, but your background, you were an air traffic controller. How did that work out? Like what
Yeah, no, it's been a cool experience. I love aviation. I love air traffic control. Just for me though, it's also, you have one employer. It's the federal government for that. So if you do want to change, your roles and stuff like that, it can be quite difficult. So that's where I kind of started looking outside of the aviation industry, to kind of do other avenues. And that's kind of the only downside I'll say to it, is that you kind of have one main employer. It's kind of like saying you're a veteran, in the Army. Well, you're kind of at the mercy of the United States government for if you're going to change roles, if you're going to be able to do it. So that was kind of a big restriction. And, my wife and I, we want to move and change around, and we're kind of restricted right now with where we're at. So
but the mental capacity to keep all of that organized.
Yes.
I'm smart enough to know that you're not assigned every plane in the air. You know what I mean? However,
sure.
There's a lot of moving parts to it. I mean, it's one of those things where, I'm going to repeat the urban legends that I've heard, but like they say something like air traffic controllers have to take a break every 2 hours or something because the mental focus you have to do.
It's true. It's kind of the biggest, I kind of compare it to, it's the biggest white collar, blue collar job I've ever seen.
Okay.
Because there's so much mental calculations that are happening in split seconds that, especially on a busy, stint that the controller is working, but it's then also on the shift, kind of like it's shift work too, though, that it's also kind of that blue collar job that like clock in, you do your work, you do your production, your widget, right? And then you clock out, and it's kind of that very kind of mix between the two, that it's not necessarily very physical, but it's extremely mental at a high pace capacity that you're making those calculations very quickly.
Yeah, man. So we're going to get back to your mastermind. So
the
air traffic control like in my opinion, like the Super Bowl moment or the mountaintop moment of air traffic control, at least in my mind, was 9/11, where someone had the
Sure.
courage to say, "Bring them all down."
Yeah.
The Tetris that must have gone on between, if you're in that chair at that time, what's going through your mind?
Well, it's kind of one of those things that we get that coming down from
I'm not
Washington.
talking about like someone has a bomb on a plane or anything like that.
Oh,
I'm talking
sure.
about the idea that someone on high says, "Bring them all down." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
It's a logistical challenge. Let's put it that
oh
way.
my
It's a
gosh.
logistical challenge that obviously everybody at the time that was working did phenomenally and did an excellent job at. There's plenty of documentaries out there that you go watch and they
Yeah.
talk about all this. It's all public information that's out there, but it's just one of those things that when you're working, you're going to have to make those decisions to now keep everybody safe, because normally everybody's, it's kind of
Yep.
like staying on the highway, right? Everybody's on their path, they're driving along, they're getting to their destination. And now imagine just saying you have to stop and turn around and land or go off the exit to now whatever town's closest to you,
Yep.
and get down safely. And just that logistical challenge of getting all those planes down safely is
Yep.
definitely quite the task.
I mean, like, I'm just wondering whether like people in your chair, like, very cool idea. I don't think there's enough land. Right.
They've run into that. It's where parking runways become parking lots,
Yeah.
and that's one of those things of those bigger airports that, as they land, they'll then get pulled off and kind of like park on runways or just taxiways and stuff to where,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
Unbelievable. I think about that all the time. I mean, there's a million things with that, with that tragedy to think about, but I think that people don't realize like what the courage to do it, the cost to do it, and then people like you that have to solve the problem. I'm like, oh my
Right.
gosh. It's
No,
like,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely quite
yep,
the monumental task to
yep,
complete it. And obviously it's been successful every time. Aviation is an immense record, being the safest way to travel. And
yep.
we definitely intend to keep it that way.
But what's crazy though is that I'm sure that with all the training you had, there's never a day in your training that says, okay, now let's pretend like we're going to take every plane that's ever existed in the sky and put it on the ground at one time. Go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah. When we go over emergencies, we teach people how to handle emergencies and
sure.
like that type of stuff. But like you said, that's typically one plane at a time,
I know.
not the literally entire airspace, having to get
No.
grounded. So yeah.
Nuts. That's nuts. Oh, and by the way, we're also looking for a needle and a stack of needles of the people that might be impacted by. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
great.
And that's where like some of my skill sets have certainly transitioned,
Yeah,
is that I'm very much an operations and systems guy and a training, so
yep.
that's where my expertise comes in, especially into the mastermind, is like, and I know that that's my expertise, right? I don't try to venture out and say I'm an expert in marketing or I'm not an expert in sales, and stuff like that. But once you get past that and you have to do system delivery,
Mhm.
now that's something where I kind of shine with the expertise, and that's where I can contribute, at
Yeah.
least personally with it.
Yep. And that's where I was going. Is like it's I don't want to use the analogy of like riding a bike, but what I'm saying is that stuff's not going to leave you. That stuff's going to aid you the rest of your life. Being able to compartmentalize, to be able to think clearly, to systematize, to do all the things you said. You know what I mean? And so that's a very cool skill set to have. And I don't think anybody's really ever thrust into situations like that on a daily basis. Like, I mean, I've been a pencil pusher for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the best analogy I could think of is like if you have a huge influx in your business, though, right?
Yep.
Is that you have something that, let's say you did try this new marketing campaign or something like that, and then this is where businesses can fail. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it all the time with grand openings, right? They're
Yep.
just not ready for that influx of
Yeah.
people to come into the business, and then they end up screwing up the service or the
Yeah.
widget or whatever they're doing, and then now they lost those customers for good because they had a bad experience when you were delivering that service. So it's definitely a super
Yeah.
essential skill that happens all the time in the private sector.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm 10 years older than you. So I don't know whether you're going to remember this commercial. And I have this photographic memory of commercials and stuff. So
Yeah.
there was an IBM commercial. It was on the Super Bowl, but this was years ago. And it was literally, it had to be at the start of .coms because it's like, it shows this small team and says, all right, we are open for business. And everybody's like, yeah. And they're all huddled around this computer. And all of a sudden you see this, it goes blink. And they're all like, our first sale. I'm like, yeah. And then the counter goes blink, blink, blink. And then it goes, and they're like,
Yep. Oh no, what have we done?
oh my God.
We have to actually make and deliver all these
Exactly.
products now.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But like you
Yeah.
said, like, you know what? Like, it's funny. It's like prepare for the best, but then also prepare for the worst, prepare for the best, and then also prepare for like succeeding so much. Like what happens when that day happens? You know what I mean? And that I've been around for 20 years. I've had two moments, right, where it was like, this is so exciting to sign this contract. And then I literally like walk out and I'm like, now I got to solve that problem. And it's, you know what I mean? It's crazy, it's
Yeah, it's the promote,
not
promote,
for the weak.
promote, and
I
then you
know.
get the contract and they're like, okay, now how do I do this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like we have a joke here that's like got good news and bad news. It's like, say that it's an ex client, it's like a large client. It's like ex client signed with us. And it's like, what's the bad news? Ex client signed with us.
they're really popular and we have to deliver because
Exactly.
otherwise they're going to tell
Yeah.
everybody about
Yeah,
it.
man.
So
Yeah.
it's good and bad.
Yep. Yep. I've seen other things too. Like Groupon used to be this in my space. Groupon used to be this really powerful, like it was such a disruptive product when it came on. And what I mean by that is tons of people used it, tons of people jumped upon it. Unfortunately, what they sort of found out is it was just people that were just price shopping, like trying to get the maximum amount for the lowest amount possible, right? That's
Yep.
we didn't find that out until later on, but a lot of businesses jumped on it. But Groupon put a lot of businesses out of business. And these are the type of businesses that if they were in a mastermind, they could have thought this through a little bit better. And here's how it worked. Say I'm a bakery and I have loyal people that come to my bakery every single week. But I'm like, you know what? I want to grow my bakery. So I'm going to use Groupon. They're going to take 50 cents on the dollar. I'm going to take 50 cents on the dollar. And Groupon works. And now I have 100 new clients, but I'm only making 50 cents on the dollar. And those 100 new clients want the cheapest possible product, the fastest price. And as
Yep.
soon as you can't give it, they're going to go somewhere else. Well, you know what happened to your loyal people? They're like, I never used to have to wait in line. So now they leave, the Groupon people leave. And now you're like in this effort. And by the way, to fulfill all this stuff, you're working days, nights, and weekends. It's like, how did you kill your business? Well, you didn't think through, you were nervous about what was it going to succeed. You planned for the best, but you didn't plan for what could happen here when
Yeah, it's a full
succeeds in a
thought
way.
process. You got to do the
It's
thought
crazy.
experiment. You got to think
Yeah.
of the beginning, middle, end, and if you're going to
Yep.
do that type of promotion,
Yep.
you have to set it up in a way that you already know that you're going to be able to upsell people when they come in. You got to need to know like how
Yeah.
you can make that money back and make them into a loyal customer
Yeah.
based on that cheaper for your deal.
Yep.
And like you said, just people that and this is what I found it through a lot of business owners is that they have a really awesome skill set that they're really good at, but not necessarily the best at being the jack of all trades or like being expertise
Yeah.
in all those things. And that's
Yep.
where it's so important to surround yourself with those people that are in different industries than you, just to bounce that type of idea off of, just to kind of
Yeah.
think through it and see
Yep.
what the ramifications would be for you before you just head first jump off and do it. And now, all of a sudden now you're bankrupt because you're not getting any sales coming in or whatever the case is,
Yeah. And that's the people in the bakery aren't able to see that because they're too close to it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know absolutely what you
And
mean.
an entrepreneur can think more sales is more money. More money will solve these problems. And like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming close to an end here. Just tell us about what's next. And the world is gonna escape COVID. I promise.
Yep, absolutely.
How does that impact your group? What does that mean?
Really, it's just going to eventually evolve into doing in-person events, because
Okay.
I still think, like we were talking earlier about the efficiency of being virtual and be able to, access your network anywhere in the world is super beneficial.
Yeah.
And that's going to be definitely a core part of our business. I don't think is ever going to go away. But definitely as COVID rolls out, my big thing is I want to be doing more in-person events, kind of paired in the like destination type, not necessarily a conference hall, but maybe on the beach or
Yeah,
on a
man.
cruise ship.
Yep.
or,
Yeah.
or up in a nice mountain cabin, whatever the case is, and
Very
being
cool.
in those cool locations is definitely the next step where we're going to be heading.
Yeah. I have a client and a good friend of mine, and decided to make his business almost like a destination type business. And what I mean by that is that he moved to Puerto Rico. He has
Nice.
an incredible location in Puerto Rico. And then he flies his clients in, and they get a ton of work done, but they also get to be in the most beautiful part of Puerto Rico, usually at a time where it's cold where they're from. And so I don't know how to describe it other than like, I think that even if he had people that were on the fence about whether it's working or not, it's like, you know what? I'm able to take a chapter out of my life. I'm take some time out of my life, work and play at the same time. And how few
Exactly.
as business owners get to do that.
Exactly. And we've run across that all the time. Entrepreneurs, you're wearing so many hats, you're so busy caring about all the businesses. And then if you have a family on top of it, you got to keep those relationships and keep building the support and being there for your family as well. And that's where kind of our destination events will kind of marry those three things together, to where you're spending time with your family, you're getting business done, but then you're also taking some time for yourself and having some fun.
That's awesome. Let's break down just a little bit of the details about the mastermind group. You don't have to get specific about this because it could vary. Need to know your time commitment, and then I want to be able to know price and other, not price, but I don't a price range. And then just kind of give me some specs. If I'm like saying, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in Pack. What do I need to know?
Yeah. So the process kind of looks like is, so the how you can get in touch with me if you're interested about Mastermind is going to be chriscar.thepackmastermind.com. So Chris will have that in the show notes for you. That's how you're going to be able to start the process, but you'll have an application that you'll submit. Then we'll have a little interview call to make sure that you're going to be a good fit for it. I'll even have you on a free mastermind, so you'll be able to experience a meeting. And then after that meeting, then we'll talk about if you want to join up and become a member of it. So that's kind of what the process looks like.
Mhm.
And from, who's the good avatar is that you need to have a business that you have paying clients in, right? This is not someone that is like just learning an idea or just like flushing it out. It's somebody that you have to have some paying clients, and you definitely feel that you're an expert in something.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you have to be an expert in everything, but your niche that you're an expert in is really the clientele we're looking for. And then from just a general price point is if you can afford a minimum wage employee to be a part of your business, you can afford to be part of our mastermind and have a board of directors now for you for your business.
So cool. So cool. Well, man, I'm a fan. This is very, very cool stuff, Kyle. We're going to be closing the show out, but I do want to encourage you to reach out, find out about Pack. You can obviously reach the show here at Thought Leader Magazine. I can connect you with Kyle, but then he has his contact information as well. But Kyle, thank you so much for jumping on the show. This has been wonderful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. I'm really happy they had me on today.
Great. Thanks again. And if you're looking for more information about PodMax, it's the website is podmax.co. Um, I happen to believe it's probably you're seeing something that's so on the rise. I think what you're going to see from Podmax in the future, I think it's going to blow your mind. So check into that. They do events, I think 3 to 4 times a year, and almost everybody that I know that does it has a really wonderful experience. So thanks again, and thank you for joining Thought Leader Magazine.